Hey there, welcome back to another episode of Tough Coffee Shop Talk. And today's episode might just change the way you think about getting things done. I'm really excited about today's topic because it challenges one of the most fundamental assumptions we make about productivity. Here's a question for you. How many times have you said, I just don't have enough time this week? We're all guilty of it. We try to squeeze more into our schedules, download the latest time management app, and meticulously plan our days into these 15-minute blocks. But what if we're focusing on the wrong thing all along? Today, we're diving into a fascinating debate: time management versus energy management. While everyone's obsessed with managing their time better, we're going to explore why paying attention to your energy levels might actually be the secret sauce to unlocking your peak performance and feeling more fulfilled in both your work and personal life. Think about it. Have you ever had days where you've had plenty of time but felt too drained to do anything meaningful with it? Or maybe you've experienced those magical hours where you've accomplished more in 60 minutes than you usually do in 3 hours. That's exactly what we're going to unpack in this episode. By the end of this podcast, you'll understand why the traditional approach to time management might be holding you back. And you'll learn practical strategies to start managing your energy in a way that could revolutionize your productivity. So grab your favorite energizing beverage, find a comfy spot, and let's dive into the real secret behind getting more done while feeling better doing it. But first, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button so you never miss another episode. All right, let's talk about time management. You know how we all have the same 24 hours in the day, right? Time management is basically your game plan for making the most of those hours. It's all about being smart with how you spend your time, deciding what's really important, figure out when you're going to do stuff, make sure you're not wasting precious time on things that don't matter. Think of it like being the CEO of your own day, where you're calling the shots on what gets your attention and what can wait. Whether it's using a planner, setting deadlines, or breaking big tasks into small chunks, time management is your toolkit for getting things done without feeling like you're constantly racing against the clock. Energy management is something we often overlook while we're busy watching the clock. Think about it. Have you ever had a day where you technically have tons of time, but you just couldn't get your brain to focus? Or maybe you've powered through a project when you've been exhausted, only to spend twice as long fixing the mistakes later. That's where energy management comes in. It's about understanding that your personal energy levels, so mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual, are all like your phone battery. Sometimes you're charged up and ready to tackle anything, while other times you're running on 2% and desperately need a recharge. By tuning into these natural energy rhythms, you can schedule your most important tasks when you're at your peak, take strategic breaks to recharge, and actually get more done, even if you're working fewer hours. It's not about pushing through, it's about working smarter with the energy you've got. Our bodies run on a 24-hour biological clock that's basically calling the shots on when you're sharp and when you're not. Think of it like a daily energy playlist with 3 main tracks. You've got your power hour, when you're absolutely crushing it, your slump, hello afternoon brain fog, and your bounce back period, when you're getting your mojo back. Here's the cool part. Once you figure out if you're the type who jumps out of bed at dawn or comes alive at midnight, or somewhere in between, you can hack your schedule to match. Got a brain-bending project? Save it for when you're in the zone. Need to clear out your inbox? That's perfect for when you're not exactly firing at all cylinders. The key is playing to your body's natural rhythm. Like a surfer catching the right wave. Throw in some strategic breaks. Fuel up with some good food, and give yourself the proper downtime, and you'll keep your energy flowing smooth instead of burning out. It's not about pushing through. It's about working smarter with the body's natural ups and downs. So what's your personal energy pattern? We need to identify those peak performance hours. Recognize your energy drains. Map your daily energy fluctuations. But to do this, we need to understand your chronotype. Chronotypes are natural biological preferences for sleep and awake times, falling into 3 basic categories. Either you're going to be a morning lark, which is 15 to 20% of the population. They naturally wake up at 5 to 6 a.m. Their peak performance is 8 a.m. to noon. Best for important work is in the morning, and natural bedtime is 9 to 10 o'clock at night. I am absolutely a morning lark. My mornings, I have to wake up early. I naturally wake up early. I get my best work done in the morning, most productive, and then it kind of slumps from there. But perhaps you're the opposite. Maybe you're a night owl. 15 to 20% are also night owls. Your natural wake up is after 9 a.m. Peak performance is between 4 and 10 p.m. You're most creative and focused in the evening, and your natural bedtime is after midnight. Maybe none of these resonate with you. Then you're probably going to be the third birds. 60 to 70% of the population are this. So most people are third birds. They wake up around 7 to 8 a.m. Their peak performance is between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. You follow the solar cycle, most adaptable to standard schedules, and your natural bedtime is around 10 p.m. So now I just want you to take a minute and analyze what your days are like. And thinking about when you're doing your tasks, the things that require the most concentration or the most focus, are you putting those times to match your chronotype, your sleep and awake times? So if you're a morning lark like I am, waiting until after supper to analyze a spreadsheet or focus on paperwork that, contracts that you need to read through, it's probably not the best use of my time, because it's going to take me much longer to focus. Where if I did those in the morning, I could probably get them done in 10, 15 minutes. I guarantee you, if I do them after supper, it's not nearly as easy for me. Of course, it's still possible. But the point is that we want to be able to optimize our energy so that we can improve on our time. Do you see what that means? Ultimately, wouldn't it be amazing if you could get all your work done in a shorter amount of time so you could get some of that time back for other things? I love the fact that I get most of my work done in the morning and I tackle all those heavy topics and all those heavy things and am able to do it with ease because that's at my peak performance time. So then in the afternoon, I can focus on other things that don't need that peak performance. Things like having coffee with clients or catching up on, my latest podcasts or whatever that might be. Spending time with family. That's an important one for most of us. Taking that extra time to be able to, go to the kids' game in the afternoon or sit down and watch a movie in the evening. Freeing up our time can easily be done if we manage our energy. But let's talk about management of energy. What are some of the physical signs that you might be mismanaging your energy? You might have persistent fatigue even after you've rested, or you have irregular sleep patterns or insomnia, frequent headaches or muscle tension, of course, digestive issues. Those are usually a sign, one that we often ignore, and even a weakened immune system, getting sick a little bit more often. Makes sense, right? If you're trying to cram everything into your day, and of course we're blaming this on we don't have enough time, but if we're not putting the activities in the right time period, we're stressing out about not being able to get things done, and we're stressing out even more because we're trying to put a difficult task in a time slot that is really not best used to do difficult tasks. Here's some cognitive signs. Difficulty concentrating, decreased decision-making ability, memory lapses, brain fog, reduced creativity, and ability to focus on complex tasks. So if you're going through your day and you're experiencing these things, so difficulty concentrating, decreased decision-making, again, memory lapses, brain fog, reduced creativity, inability to focus, you might be trying to do the task in the wrong time of day, in the wrong energy level. You might need to move that to a different part of your day when you're more on and have been rested and are more focused. Your peak performance hours. Some emotional signs: increased irritability, mood swings, anxiety, feeling overwhelmed, less motivation, emotionally exhausted. I don't know anybody who can't say that they don't feel these things at certain parts in their day or their week. These are huge. And if you just step back and think about, is it as simple as just, if I do these tasks at a different time of day, intentionally go about doing it at a different time of my day, will I not have these symptoms, these signs? It's an interesting thought. And of course, you'll have professional impact. You'll have missed deadlines, decreased work quality, procrastination, reduced engagement in meetings, making more mistakes than usual, difficulty prioritizing tasks. And you'll have behavioral changes, increased caffeine dependency, poor eating habits, skipping breaks, working longer hours with less output, social withdrawal, neglecting self-care routines. I'll go back to the poor eating habits. For me, evening is when I'm the least focused and I have the least willpower. So if I'm going to make poor decisions when it comes to food, it will be in the evening. I will not make those poor decisions in my mornings. I'm a morning person. My mornings, no problem. I can make all the right decisions. I can stay on track. I can do all of those things. But come evening, not so much. That's when I, lose my willpower, lose my focus. And knowing those things will also help me set up for success, right? So let's talk about what you can do to figure out when your best peak performance hours are. What are your energy cycles? What do they look like? So you could do a daily journal tracking your energy levels. And that simply could be just a notepad with a date on it that says, 9 a.m., feeling pretty good, lots of energy, or 9 a.m., needed another cup of coffee, have no focus. And then at 10 or 11 even, doesn't even have to be every hour, 11, getting a little bit more momentum, was able to focus really well. And then at 2 o'clock, it's downhill from here. I can't, just something like that. Could be really simple. Do it for 2 or 3 days. And you'll kind of be able to figure out what that looks like. Track when you go to bed, track what time you're getting up. Be mindful and just aware of what's what. Really pay attention. Trigger tracking to identify activities that drain your energy too. So are there things that trigger you to drain that energy? What are they? You probably, if you sit down and think about it, probably know what they are. Those things that, require extra focus or are emotionally draining even. Reflect on what those are so that you can figure out, what are the things that you need to fit in your best times, right? And you may even have to create a bit of a schedule for you. If you're needing to adjust, write down what your schedule could look like. When are your peak times? And you can use, fancy colors for it even, or block it out in your calendar going, okay, here's my day timer. And these are the hours that I'm most productive. And you can put like a big bracket around it so that to put your hardest, most important tasks in that time. And things that aren't as important or won't require as much emotional, physical, or psychological conditioning can be placed outside of that time. Just giving yourself some latitude to be able to do that. It's really important to just listen to your body and what you're trying to tell yourself ultimately so that you can get that peak performance. Because if we can hit that peak performance, then of course we'll be able to be reclaiming some of that time back. And you might actually be going to bed at a certain time and getting up at a certain time that doesn't naturally align with your energy type. People with kids will certainly experience this. And one of our members talked about it, how she's like, well, what if my peak time is, first thing in the morning I'm all on, and then late at night I'm really on, like after my kids go to bed. and we talked about it, and it wasn't necessarily that she was actually on, but that was the time that she had available. So she was managing her time because that's what she had available to focus on those things. She wasn't necessarily able to focus well on them because her energy levels were down in the evening, but that's when she felt that she had the time. And as her kids grow, and as your kids grow, you'll know this. Really think back, if you have kids that are a little bit older now, think back to when they were infants and you were getting up in the night and, you were depriving yourself of sleep, and you would get tasks done when you could, or you would nap in the middle of the day so that you would have energy later. You would adjust your schedule to fit whatever made sense, and you would re-energize when you could, recharge your battery, so to speak. And as your kids get older, you adjust that. Or sometimes you don't. Sometimes you kind of forget about it and you just think that's how you work. I'm just a night owl and a morning person. Well, but if you actually sit back and look at your energy level and how much time it takes you to do tasks, it's maybe not that you have too many tasks to do. It's that you're putting the wrong task in the wrong bucket and it's taking you twice as long to do it. So you really need to sit back and go, okay, of the tasks that I'm doing, should they take this long? Am I actually focused and can just bang it out and get it done? Or am I dragging it on and on and on and on and on? And we're all guilty of it. I'm not saying this is you. This is all of us. We've all done this, and we all continue to do this from time to time. But if we can be a little bit more aware of when we're doing it, we can maybe condense those things and rearrange things so that we can be putting them in that peak performance, or the things properly into their peak performance, so that you can reclaim some of that time back. To do a little recap, you're going to have 3 distinct phases in your day. You're going to have your peak period where you're high alert, your trough, so your dip, and your recovery phase. And then we have the 3 chronotypes: the early bird, so the morning lark, the night owl, and that somewhere in between, the third bird. Take some time, figure out what works for you. Who are you? So what type of chronotype are you? And then where are your peak hours, your dips? When do you recharge? And then sit back and look at the schedule you've had created. So your time management that you've had created so far and the things that you're putting into those buckets, and figure out if you need to move them around. Like maybe you've been having your morning coffees first thing in the morning when really you should be having them in the afternoon, because in the morning is when you have the most productivity, and having coffee with somebody doesn't always require as much focus and, that concentration piece of it. I will grant you sometimes it does. And if that's the case, by all means, please do. But if not, move that around. Put your heavier tasks in that peak performance time so that you can gain some of that time back. So as I wrap up here today, let's just all remember that we all have the same 24 hours each day. Our energy is renewable and variable. The shift from purely managing time to strategically managing our energy represents a fundamental change in how we approach productivity and well-being. By understanding our rhythms, respecting our peak performance periods, aligning our important tasks with our energy cycle, we can achieve more meaningful results than by simply trying to maximize every minute. You've maybe caught onto a theme here. I want you to gain some of your time back. I want to help you get some of your time back so that you can spend it on things that really matter to you. Spending that time with family, hanging out with friends, catching up on, reading, or maybe you're taking a course, things that you've been putting aside because you don't feel that you have enough time. I just want to help you to do that. And by determining your energy cycles and figuring out your peak performance times and putting those right tasks in there, I promise you'll be able to get some of that time back. So that concludes the episode this week. It was actually kind of short, but I think a powerful conversation. And I want to say thank you for being here. It really does mean a lot to me. Again, if you haven't, please hit that subscribe button, as I'd love it if you came back here week to week. And I would love it if you recommended or referred someone to this podcast. Maybe there's somebody you know who struggles with time management. Maybe send them this episode and share it with them so that they can try and gain some of their time back too. So thanks again for being here. If you're looking for more information on my membership, you can check out tuffinstitute.com. That's tufinstitute.com. Or if you want more about me and my real estate business, check out rhondalavoie.exprealty.com. You want to find me on some socials, you can go to Instagram, rhondalavoie_TUF, or on Facebook, just with my personal profile as Rhonda Lavoie. Reach out anytime. I really do love hearing from you, and I hope you have a really marvelous day. And I can't wait to bring you another episode next week.